Hello. Happy new moon. Almost the end of Pisces season. Almost the end of winter. We survived. Um, Welcome to Woman Earth. This is my favorite topic, and I think it's my favorite topic because the matrix, the systemic patriarchy, everything has inverted this information. And this is like, yeah, survived. Yeah. And this is like the root, the basis, I think, that so many women are suffering because we're missing this like fundamental basic piece. And some of this might be um stuff we've already talked about if you've taken some of my other classes and courses, so um if it's just a like a refresher, then that's that's good too. My prayer for this evening, dear God, Mother Earth, our higher selves, ancestors and angels and right relations, um, is for this to be the new moon, the coming of spring, the female empowerment reboot that our spirits and souls are longing for, the exact right alignment for what each of us is needing in this exact moment. And everyone that watches this video, once it's set in replay or online. And may this just be a direct, beautiful transmission from Mother Earth and God, through me to us, right? Like this is beyond you, me. This is about the remembering coming through. Um, and may we see the earth in ourselves and ourselves in earth. Um, I'd love to start by asking you guys a few questions. Um, what were the stories that you were told, the information, the lessons, anything that you were told or you inferred through the women around you, like when you started your periods? About like what was your cycles? What were your hormones? What were you taught? You can like unmute and speak it out loud. You can put it in the chat. Either way.
Honestly, I don't think that I even had a real conversation. I think it was like I had to have my friend tell my mom. I was like petrified. Yeah, so I mean, it was a really long time ago, but I don't remember even having this conversation about it. Maybe I did, I just don't remember, but I don't
Mhm.
know.
And she just like got you the products and then you were on your own.
Um, Probably. I mean, if I asked her a question, she'd answer it, but I don't think she like, sat me down and was like, here, this and this and this.
Yeah. Interesting. What about you, Jenna? Let me pull it up the chat. Oh my God, it was not discussed. I was given a package of zip pads, and told to, yeah, look at the box. And we had a class in fifth grade, but don't remember. It was just a welcome to, um, oh, it's okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And so, we're millennials. So all around the same time. And I remember I got my period. I was 12 years old. Like I remember the day, right? Like, oh my God. And I told my mom. And I know she told me a few things, but I don't really. My mom had all of our conversations. She would like lock me in the car and we would drive somewhere far and have the conversations that like I would want to squirm and get out of, right? But that's how she always just lock me in the car and we would have the hard talks. Um, and I remember my family gave me a lot of books. Did you guys have a lot of those books? But they were kind of like comic book style, where there's like the blurbs of information and the pictures. And I hate my like brain does not function in reading anything like that. And it didn't then and it still doesn't. Like I've never been a what are the graphic novels. It's funny. I just had a weird memory. I think it was St. Patty's Day. I had those books too. Yeah, that's St. Patty's. Okay, so it's like the same. It's the echo. We're talking about it. Mine is I was conceived on St. Patty's Day. That's like the St. Patrick's Day thing. My mom and my sister and I are 3 days apart, like our birthdays, many years. And she goes, "Oh, so don't watch out for me on St. Patrick's Day." It's like apparently the one day of her life a year that she drinks. Anyway, um, but yeah, and we had those books. So I got a lot of those books, especially from my aunt, but I like never read them. So they didn't help me at all. And I remember we also had the class in fifth grade, the sex ed class, but all I remember is that the boys were just like making jokes the whole time about like doing this and running around pretending to be sperm. So I don't remember anything that I learned. I don't know why they did that together for the boys and the girls, right? So a lot of us are entering this time kind of blind. Like, okay, we're gonna bleed. Okay, we're gonna use these products. Who knows like what they're made of or anything. Let's use these products and we're just gonna do this for the rest of our lives. Right? Like, okay. Now, and I know my mom tried to do things better than her mom, but I never learned that there were different phases of my cycle, like not at all. Um, uh, that like what I would be feeling, right? Through the different phases. Now, I'll be lucky. I had really easy periods, and I think I don't know how my mom's periods were. My mom never talked about her periods ever. I remember my mom had endometriosis. My mother had every womb affliction. I don't remember her ever discussing any of it, right? Um, and so that is also something that I think is interesting. Like, what womb stories were our inheritance, right? Like, I know that first of all, my grandmother gave birth in twilight sleep, where they just like in the 50s, they just like knocked the women out and then they had a baby and they had no support and the husbands weren't there and then they were definitely not supposed to breastfeed and as separate from the whole experience as possible. My mom, because she had fibroids and she actually got pregnant because she had a fibroid removed and then like had got pregnant like really quickly. But because of that, she had to have elective cesareans at 37 weeks for both my sister and I. So she never went into labor, right? Like like none of that was even there. She didn't even think to ask any questions until I had a home birth, and she was like, I didn't even think I could question my doctor. Like the idea of questioning my doctor that there's any other option didn't even cross my mind. She was like, she said, she was like, let alone that this was an option. She was, I didn't even think to question my doctors. They said it was this, boom, that was fine. Because okay, maybe she didn't want to have a natural birth. She wanted the C-section, but why did she have to have it at 37 weeks? Why couldn't they at least let her go full term? Anything like that. Completely, again, disconnected from the experience, like a major womb experience. Um, and another womb inheritance that I was actually like definitely like the lineage breaker was my great grandmother. There is significant talk that she cheated on my grandfather. Well, there was a lot of scandals around her, and they actually had to move a lot in her lifetime, like from different states, because she was a scandalous woman. Um, and so there's a lot of significant talk um, that my grandmother wasn't her dad's daughter. Like my great grandmother cheated and got pregnant, but it was like just a lot of talk. Nobody could ever confirm, but they were pretty sure. And then my grandmother cheated on my grandfather and had my uncle. Nobody found out till he was in his 30s, my uncle, and had to have like some tests done for a cancer scare, and they realized that his paternity wasn't my grandfather. And then my mother cheated on my father and got pregnant with me. And I didn't find out till I was 20 years old. And she told me and we had to go get this paternity test. And it turns out, yeah, this random dude in Savannah, Georgia was my biological father. Then I was in a relationship with this man. I was married to this other man. And I cheated on him and got pregnant with Lennox. And I was like, okay, this is done. We are done. I was like, and it was the most miserable time of my life because I had to face all of it, right? And then the guy found out because he was a crazy hacker. He found out in the craziest way and emailed me. He's like, I saw what you were doing. And I was like, oh my God. And then it was just the most emotional thing. But I was like, this is okay. I was like, this may be the most emotional, terrible thing of my life, but I'm changing it. I'm not going to raise a child in this dynamic of lies and of as the woman, because when my mom told me that, I was like, I was a little mad, right? But mostly I was like, how did she keep that secret for 20 years? How did my grandmother keep that secret for 30 something years? How did my great grandmother keep that secret? Right? And having just experienced it, like, you look at the scandal, I understood the scandalous woman, right? I understood that woman, that longing, that sensuality. I understood it because I just did it too. And so I was like, I'm going to cry every single day of this pregnancy, but I am going to free us from this. And then on the day, but my mom told me about my dad. I didn't even expect to tell y'all my whole story, but here we go. Apparently, this was with the divine transmission. My mom told me that when I was 20. I didn't know how to tell my dad. I didn't know how to tell my dad. I remember my best friend was like, Katie, I don't think you're supposed to tell him. I think that was your mom's job. And so I didn't know. And then it kind of time passed on and I didn't know how. So boom, 5 years later, I was 25 when I gave birth to Lennox. And on the day Lennox is born, he was 3 weeks overdue. So it was like this joyous thing. I just had this most beautiful home birth. Like everything that I had envisioned happened. It was like cloud nine, right? Like this beautiful baby. And I get a call from my dad, and he's like, Katie, put your mom on the phone. My mom was there, and she was actually leaving that day. And she goes out and she comes back in. She's like, your dad knows about Tommy. And I'm like, what? Today? Apparently, Tommy had shared my announcement on Facebook that I had a baby. My dad was like, why would Tommy share this? Because he knew they were like work people. And my dad saw Tommy was like, my grandson was born today. And my dad's like, excuse me. And so he talked to my mom and she was like, yeah, it's true. La, la, la. And I was like, no, this is like the worst thing. But that first week of Lennox's life, right? The pregnancy in which I changed all of this, it came out. And that week I talked with my dad. My dad has three sisters and I was very close with all of them. I talked with my dad. I talked with my stepmom. I talked with all three of my aunts because he had to tell them they're all so close. And we all just had these heart to heart, tearful conversations. Like they were not mad at me for not saying anything. They totally understood why that would be a hard conversation for me to have. They were clear they never want to speak to my mother again. And I was like, fair enough. But we all were like, we're all family and it's all love and there's no negativity around it. And it ended up being the most beautiful, like full circle love moment from that whole pregnancy of like ending. This ends with my womb, right? And in my there's a whole astrology for me that shows that I've been this like womb clearer on multiple levels, and this was one. So this is like my womb inheritance, and it was some shit, honestly. I was like, okay. Maybe would have picked another one, but apparently I called that. I came in my mother's like, all right, let's do this. Let's heal the lineage. Let's heal the womb lineage specifically. So that's my womb inheritance. What would you guys say is your womb inheritance? Like from the births the women in your family had, the womb experiences that the women in your family have had and you inherited.
That's another one. I have no idea. I
Mhm,
know my mom, my grandmother had her when she was 19, but
mhm,
then like my mom was married like 27. She was a little bit older, but I think she had, oh, I was almost born in the toilet, but that's about it. That's all I know. Um, but yeah, no, I don't. She had like normal births. She didn't have like C-sections, but I don't think, but I've never asked.
mhm.
So maybe I should ask.
I do recommend it because even when you're not looking for the crazy or like not even crazy, it can be small but impactful, of the stories. Like even something small like my first son came almost 3 weeks late. I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like so done with being pregnant. And you know what I learned from a cousin who, like, our grandmothers were sisters. Now, because my mom had a 37 week cesareans, there was no understanding of what labor would be like. And my cousin, who like is her mom was cousins with my mom, so we're all from like that same womb lineage. She was like, yeah, actually it's very normal for the women in our family to for our first babies to be after 2 weeks late. She was like this, and she went through all the different aunts who this had happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. This is something that we carry in us, but like there was just a disconnect from how we even know the stories, right? We don't even know the stories. And that's okay. We don't have to know the exact stories to still be the clear the reclaimer. Oh my God, I have no idea. I know I was born late, due July 4th, born July 22nd. Okay, I feel your mama on that one. Yeah. So we don't even know the stories, but we can reconnect with even deeper aspects of not because we don't always know. Sometimes we're adopted, we might not ever know these things, and that doesn't mean we can't still connect, right? And that's what this is all about, is connecting beyond what we actually know and tapping into earth, because that's the primordial mother beyond all of this anyways, right? Beyond my mom, my this. But if you do have time to kind of dig in, it's really fun, honestly, and it's really healing, and it's really loving, and like for you, but also like, and even if you don't ever talk to your mom again, right? Like I don't know what everyone's vibe is with their mom, but like if sometimes it's hard, just the acceptance and love and crying and understanding within yourself, like that's a ripple too, right? Like everything has like this energetic frequency that sends out from what we do, right? Every action is an equal or opposite reaction, right? And that's just the energy we put out. Um, but I want to talk about this connection we have to Earth, this woman Earth, right? So, but first let's talk about what's with the disconnect, right? Like there are so like the disconnect is deep. Like I'm saying, I know with me, like my grandmother was disconnected, right? Like my grandmother was super duper disconnected. Then she didn't know how to help my mother reconnect. My mom tried, but I had to do a lot of this digging and understanding and seeking and things on my own. To hopefully with my God willing granddaughters in the future, to share it with them, right? So, but let's talk about a little bit of the modern day disconnect. Women today, age 15 to 49, so general childbearing age, even though we know the children should not be bearing, but the capable of childbearing ages. 11.4% are on the pill. Um, their long term, the implants and different things, there's a few different kinds. I don't like their long term reversible, I don't remember what the acronym is. And so 10% of women are on those. 11% of women are on female sterilization. All right, there's some sort of 54%, more than half of the women in America are on contraceptives. That statistic could be a little high. It could be closer to like high 30s, because 10% of that could just be condoms, and that's not the same as a pill that or something that's shifting our actual hormones. So, but it was kind of hard to figure out on the CDC website exactly how that broke down. So, anywhere from a third to over half of American women from 15 to 49 are on some sort of birth control. Now, I want to be super clear. I'm not against birth control. I'm not against anything for female reproductive health and freedom, but I do think we still need to talk about it. We need to have honest conversations about anything we're going to put in our bodies. And if we just go from it's science, trust the science, we're missing out on a whole lot of ways to look at something and understanding from where it's coming from. This light is like bright. It's fine. I didn't like shift to find the best one. And it's just like, if I even look in this direction, I'm like, can't even see. It's fine. Um, and for women 40 to 49, 1 in 4 have done female sterilization. And between 30 to 39, 1 in 10. Um, Now, a lot of the for female sterilization, they just like disconnect the fallopian tube, so you still are releasing eggs, and you might still have a hormonal period, but you can't get pregnant. Um, but what the birth control and the fact that so many have been on it, and I would love to talk about the number where I said 15 to 49, because I have been having a lot of workshops lately around this type of information. And I'm having a lot of women tell me that they got on birth control at 12, 12, 12, more than one woman, and then was on it for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Some of them were in their 30s, still on it. Now, again, if people want to do whatever they want to do, I really don't judge women, but I really do think we need to think about what we're doing with this. What is this doing when we just completely shut down our regular hormonal symphony? Like, these things happen for a reason. And often, those 12-year-old girls, it's not because they're having sex, it's because they're having acne, because they're having bad cramps. Like they're put on it for very simple, small reasons, which is probably difficult for the girl. They're wanting to miss school for these things or whatever. And so they're like, oh, here, no worries, just here. Start at 12, get on birth control. This is shifting the entire hormonal cascade of what is normal. And for many, many women I've also worked with, once you get off birth control, and a lot of these women that get off birth control are still in their 20s and they're having insane periods that they just cannot get back on. A lot of these women also in their early teens that are getting birth control are also simultaneously within those early years, boom, here, get on this antidepressant. You're not depressed. You don't have anxiety. Like the way they're just here, boom. And it's crazy because to me, if I've worked with herbs long enough, the two things I think we can fix the easiest and like is the best design for people is for your fucking nervous system and for our female bodies and hormones. Like I feel like herbs are where the medicine really doesn't have solutions for these things. They really don't. They're like, we don't know. Good luck. Here, try this. Take this pill. Doesn't work. We got a few more you can try, right? Like that's the answer. And the thing is that it's like just forever now. Good luck. Here you go. And one thing we do have to talk about when we're on antidepressants, all these kind of things, is that they really affect our bone health, our digestive health long term. Like we it's not a judgment, but it's a bit curious. What are we disconnecting when we do this? And if I've sat in circle, and believe me when I tell you, I love all the women that come to circle. But the women who are sitting in circle, who have been on birth control for so long, do you know what they say? I don't really know anything about my cycles. I've just had the same thing for 10 years. I've been on the same thing for like 25 years. I don't know. Usually I'm a little bit crazy or now I got breast cancer, but now, I like, like, I mean, like totally everything's been kind of fucked up. My health is a giant disaster, but I don't really know anything. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, babe, babe, let's look at another way to tap into this. Let's look at another way to not get pregnant. Let's look at another way to deal with our hormones instead of just shutting them off, cutting them down, suppressing them, pretending they don't exist. This is our womanness. This is our fucking magic. This is what creates the life. And even if you don't want to create life, we're creating every fucking thing around us. All right. So, this is what I want to do is reorient ourselves or give us an opportunity to reorient ourselves with our bodies and with time. Okay, what? Um, and with the blood mysteries, right? Like the blood mysteries of how we can bleed day in, like for multiple days in a row, every month, and we don't die. We don't die. That's men could never. Or what about the fact that our menstrual blood has stem cells that they want to use for all kinds of like incurable diseases and problems? Our menstrual blood. Now, when you put blood in a plant, it's similar to when you're gardening, you put blood meal, which is a super nitrogen fixer. If plants are taking all the good things out of the soil to grow big, beautiful vegetables and flowers and stuff, what we usually have to work to replace in the soil is nitrogen. And when we put blood meal or we put our beautiful, rich blood in the soil, we're fixing it. when we plant our placentas, like that tree will, those plants will flourish, right? Menstrual blood is said to like be a wound repair. Like our blood is sacred. It is medicine. It is so healing because if we did not bleed, right? If we did decide to have a baby, or not decide, but end up with a baby, that's what happened to me. It would be the same thing that nourishes life. And so what we've been disconnected from is this blood, these blood mysteries of all the things that come forward through tapping in to that. So why tonight is exciting is it's a new moon in Pisces. Okay, so there's no big full moon, it's the dark moon, right? And um it's the new moon in Pisces right at the end of Pisces season. And Pisces season is the last water sign. It's the last sign of the astrological calendar. And then we go into spring and we go into fire. It goes fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water. So we're going from the last water into the first fire, the starting of something new, of the new year, the real new year, right? Is now in spring. Literally, he is risen, right? The sun is returning. The warmth is returning. Like we said, we have survived. um, and and so right here, we're at this like transformative going from the old to the new. The Piscean is like the imagination, the waters of creation that we can tap in to the dreams, to the other world, to the other realm. And then we're going to be going right into Aries, which is a big theme because we've had a lot of things moving into Aries for the first time in a while. And then we have all these things going to Aries again. So it's big about how we can come from this dream, this knowing, the intuitive connective grounding that we have, and then being able to boom, bring it into that fire, bring it into reality, bring it into life. And so we have this right now, we have this new moon right before we go to the equinox, right before we start spring, right before the new year. And so this is like such a potent time to think about this. And what I'd like to propose to you is to shift literally how we envision time. How we envision time now is in a bunch of little boxes. I don't have a calendar nearby. Oh, darn it. But how are our calendars? One big box. And in the box, we have a bunch of other little boxes. And now our whole life goes in this line, and then we go back to here, and we go from this box to this box to this box to this box. I spend a lot of time outside. I see very, very few things that are a bunch of different fucking boxes or a square, right? How do to show what I'm talking about? What do we see? I haven't updated my Canva, so some of these have watermarks. Yeah, I'll just deal with it. Um, it just keeps getting more expensive for like I'm not making that stuff much stuff right now. But what do we see in nature? The spiral. We see the spiral in the plants coming up. We see the spiral. I was pruning some today. We'll talk about this later. I was pruning and because I went to sit down to write, and then I looked up and I was like, my Sandra, and I was like, I should cut that back. And I was like, okay. Part of me was like, I'm always nervous. That pruning is always so scary to me, right? Like, I don't want to kill you, but I'm going to trust the process, which is very much where we are right now. This is the time, late winter, early spring, when you prune. And it's the scariest time because it's like, oh my God. And you guys have lived in the north your whole lives. I'm new, so I'm every year I'm like, is it gonna come? Spring's really gonna come, right? It's actually gonna come, right? Because I'm like so afraid that we'll have to live in cold winter forever. Um, And so you're like you can see your plant is like wanting to start growing and it survived and you want to love it, but what you have to do to love it is to chop half of it down and you're like, whoa, that's terrifying, right? And so I did that, but the Schisandra, it's like a vine, and so around the pole it just so beautifully had this like this spiral, right? This we have linear time as if things go on a line, but really, nothing in nature goes in a line. Look at how our storms and our clouds move. Look what the galaxy looks like. Look at these ancient beings are in these spiral shapes. The pine cone, all of this, even the Fibonacci sequence of sound of of water rippling. It's in a spiral. And the woman is in the spiral. The woman, how we live our time is in a spiral. Like how we go through our hormonal cycle is again, it's a spiral. It's not a box here and a box here and a box here and a box here. It's a spiral that's continually going out and out and out. And so what we had at this point in the spiral, this is how time works. But we have been conditioned in a different way. And so I've created calendars that look like this. You know, where's the astrology? Where is the moon? Where in a spiral of time? Spiral of time, you know? Um, and I'd love for us to be able to re-envision how we orient ourselves with time. Um, I'm gonna get out of this for a second and then I'll come back. Um, so we talked about the blood mysteries, and I know I'm talking about the moon, but one thing I'd really like to say is that we have women have been so linked to with our bleeds and our cycles to the moon. We're on the moon cycle in the 28 days of the moon, right? We should be linked to the 13 moons. And I agree. I think there's so much beauty. I spent many years of my life syncing with the moon. And then I also spent a few like pretending the moon didn't exist to see the difference. Um, but but you know what I've been realizing is that it's kept us small. The moon has no life, creates no light of its own, and it just is like a reflection. And yes, it influences our waters and we are linked to it. But what does the moon orbit? The moon goes around the earth. The moon goes around the earth, baby. Okay. And we have been so linked to the moon that creates no life or has its own light and is stuck to this other much bigger planet. So we've connected ourselves to the smaller and we're like, ooh, it's in the dark, it's mysterious, you know? And we have all that. But baby, we are linked with the earth. And I feel like, yeah, we call it Mother Earth, but how many of us are actually like, no, I'm not linked to just the moon, although the moon's cool. But we're linked to the earth, the mama, the thing that we all need to exist, the creator of all things on this planet, the sustainer of life, the most majestic, abundant giver that we have in this tangible world is earth. And that's what we're actually linked to. That's what Womanearth is all about. And so when we're thinking, we're reconnecting the ideas of time and living in a spiral, it's because we are connected to a bigger one than 28 days. To the whole seasonal year is linked within us every single month. In 28 days, we experience what the earth does in 365 days. So we get 12 to 13 different cycles of what the earth does every fucking year. Baby, like we've been playing so small. Like even in our bigness, we've been playing small. Like this was a recent development for me. Like even in our moon goddess worship, we're still playing small. So that's what we're deleting. That was me punching the delete button. I don't know which one, but the big yellow one or the big red one. Like, hi, my name is Joe and work in a button factory. The delete button for Joe, that's the big one, okay? Because we're bigger than that. And that's what I want this class to have us shift. And on this sacred, like, new moon, new season, real new year energy, that's what I want, if anything, to have that seed placed within right now, right as it's getting cold and it's cold and so it's going back and then it's warming and it's spreading out, right? Like the little baby is getting like just the way when we have a baby and it comes out of us, we contract, push out, and then we relax. That's what's happening to the seeds right now. I mean, if you're watching this in Alabama, y'all experienced it 3 months ago, but whatever. And in California, whatever. Every place has its own way that it goes through the seasons. In some places, like where I'm in the north, it's like the standard snow, summer. We have all four. But I know where I grew up in California, sometimes the season is the windy season. Sometimes the season is the fire season, right? It's a little bit different, but it all will fall into it correctly if you can like understand how each thing has a purposeful phase. Okay. And so that's what we're going to go into. I'm going to share again. How's this landing for you guys? What are you guys feeling? Oh, where did I put it? Hold on. I got to figure out where the screen went. It always does this to me. I got to find it. Yes. All right. It's 5 minutes landing. All right. Here we go. I found my screen. Okay. So in the phases of womanhood, Jess, you might have seen this before, but in the phases of womanhood, we have the maiden, the mother, the wise woman, and the crone, right? So the maiden is, um, in our adolescence going into, like 20s-ish, right? Um, the mother is kind of entering in that maturity because not every woman has a child, but they can still be in that maturity, responsibilities, the taking care of things, the taking care of others, not just self all the time and things like that. And then we have kind of like the 40s, 50s wise woman, and then we have beyond that the crone. So we have these four phases of womanhood where we tend to have different hormonal experiences, right? Maidenhood is, prepubescent, and then we get our cycles. Motherhood is the hormonal cascade of having babies, or not, but our fertile years, right? The wise woman, that's kind of coming towards the end of the cycle, perimenopause, and then crone is post-menopause, right? Where we're beyond that phase. So this is the phases of womanhood. And you know what? Like sometimes like they kind of flow with each other, right? Like they're not always like sometimes I know there's a lot of part of my where I was an actual real life mom and I still very much felt like I was a maiden, you know? So like understand this is not okay, you are now 25, you are a mother, but you know what? Like there's fluidity because this is a spiral of time. It's not a locked in type of dynamic. But we see how this also works out to where the maiden is very much like spring, where things are sprouting and things are just beginning and like there's hope and we're all reinvigorated and excited and there's movement right after like a like we're all coming out of hibernation and just think of like all the little animals coming out and everything and that's like us. We're like, yes, everything is great. We're full of hopefulness. Yay. And then mother is summer where it's hot and we're doing things and we're busy. um where there's a lot of activity. um the days are long, right? Wise woman is like autumn. We're kind of beginning to wind down, not like wind down where like we're just like settling into nothingness in life, but we're maybe earlier bedtimes, settling into not just like activity of life but who we are. And some of that is a lot of nostalgia but also like a rebirth that kind of happens, right? Like we're shifting into another thing in autumn and like it's usually a very transformative time of the year. as is that wise woman going from the fertility years to the crone years. And then in winter, we have the crone where we're in our dreamscape and we are tending, right? We're doing all our crone hobbies, right? Unless we're Jess and we're painting our house. But the rest of us, just kidding. She's baking her sourdough bread too. Um, but so the archetypes they flow with each other, right? The phases of womanhood are very much aligned with the phases of the year seasonally, with what is we're seeing outside in nature. And they also translate to what, like I said, what we experience every single month. Now, the maiden is follicular. So we had just finished our bleed and our hormones are rebalancing. We've got energy. We think we can tackle everything. We're communicating well. We're exercising. We're just feeling like alive again after our periods, right? And then summer ovulation, all of a sudden we might have been totally over that guy last week, but we're like, hey, you come over here. I like you. Um, and we feel that way about a lot of things in life, right? Like, we're just revving to go a little bit more. Even though a lot of us know motherhood is actually like exhausting, but ideally, we're revving to go, and it's a shorter period, the ovulation, but it's just a few days. And then we have luteal, and this is actually a longer phase of our cycle. And this is when we, like Autumn, might be having nostalgia. Like the wise woman who all of a sudden, the wise women are like, I don't give any fucks about anything. And in luteal phase, we're like, my guns are blazing. Fuck with me. I'm ready to fight you. I'm gonna go cry afterwards, but I'm ready, right? Because all of a sudden, all the things we've been feeling, but because we were in such good energy and our hormones were so good in spring and summer, and the weather's so nice, and we're just outside in our garden, we can just like forget that the house is a mess, forget that the man hasn't done anything for the past 2 months because whatever, I've been with my flowers, right? I've had energy. Now we don't have the same energy. The flowers are dying. And now we're pissed at all the things that like we kind of shoved under during the good phase, right? And then we have menstruation. And usually, not always, there's like a relief of the emotional tension that was going on, right? And now we kind of end up more in like a physical, like, let me just go lay and cuddle with myself and take a bath and put a warm blanket on and like, drink hot chocolate watching my favorite rom-com that I can cry and then get a good night's sleep, right? Just like in winter, we're like, okay, let me just go to bed at 8 p.m. because it's been dark for 17 hours anyway. Let me just go to bed, right? Um, so we have what we experience in the whole lifetime, and then what we experience in the whole year. We experience every single month each of these phases. We can embody and work through the energy and lessons of all of them. My circle's a little small. um, and so then beyond that, we can look even deeper in our body. In spring, in Chinese medicine, live each season in Chinese medicine, there is an organ system, like an organ pairing that is linked with it. I hear my dog's little tick, 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 tick. And I'm like, oh no, is she gonna barge in here and then freak out and then try and escape? Okay, I think she's staying out there. Um, and so we have organ pairings for each season that kind of rule that season. And then it helps us biologically understand how to take care of ourselves better each season, and also how to blend teas, having catering to each through their different flavors and stuff that are just beautiful and balanced and stuff. But so in the spring, it's the liver and the gallbladder. And this is all about flow. This is if we're coming from winter, if we're coming menstruation, or if we're coming from this time where we're just a little bit more, we're eating a little bit heavier, right? Because it's cold. So we're having heartier soups and, things like that. Um, and I think, I've been reading a lot of older books, and then I read a lot of The Little House on the Prairie. And so in the long winters, especially, but in all of them, towards the end of winter, right? They're on the last salt pork. They're literally just with as many wheat berries as they can to make that same bread without any butter or anything. That's all they're eating, like it's like towards the end of winter where we're just like dying for the little greens to start growing. And so we're eating a lot of more dense things, right? Like the last of the potatoes, like, you know what I'm saying? And so then what's the first thing that grows in spring are the greens, which are tend to be like a little bitter and not now when they first grow, they're not, but right. And that's really good for the liver. They kind of help start clearing things out, right? They move with our flow because the liver, the gallbladder, they're also connected to the digestion in a way that they help the metabolic, they help kind of clear it out, move things through the flow of the lymph, the flow of the detoxification organs, right? Where we want to move. What do they say to do for our lymph, right? We got to jump up and down and vibrate, right? We want to move things out, start going for our jogs, whatever. And so we know if we can start in our follicular phase, it's also the best time to have those raw vegetables because they are going to. It's a good time to look into digest. Oh man, the word just left my head. The flow, the bitters, the detoxifying, I guess that was what I was looking for, type of herbs in that follicular phase because it's a good time for our body to handle it. And when in the classes that we have when we do the 40-day sadhana are going to help us tune into this, right? They're going to be much deeper in exactly what to eat and exactly what herbs to take through all of these. This is like as much like, more condensed little brief class. And so in that we'll go much deeper and then we'll also go much deeper into spring specifically in the two of the three classes that we have for the 40-day sadhana, which will start next week. Um but and then in the summer, right, when we're sweating, we're all these things, we can nurture our heart and small intestine. And then in Chinese medicine, there's kind of like five seasons. And so there's like between kind of like Virgo season, really, between the August before it comes fully into uh fall, there's like the what they used to call like the Indian summer, right? And so this is the spleen and stomach. This is where we really want to nurture ourselves with the sweet flavor, with the kind of like the things of the harvest. And the spleen stomach also rules worrying. So think about Virgos. It's all about they end up having digestive issues, right? Spleen stomach from worrying too much. And so the spleen stomach late summer is literally digestion and overthinking and over worrying. So if and it's also what when we go back to school, when we end all our vacations and start work again, right? Like so many things are happening in that time that all of a sudden we're out of the fun of summer and we have to start thinking and da 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 da. um and then we go into autumn, which is the lungs and large intestine. And lungs, hello, what are we constantly doing in autumn and then also in winter is getting freaking sick. Getting sick. And um and also not being able to let go. We have that nostalgia, and the large intestine is all about how we can let go. And the lungs are the emotion of grief. So if we can work on our digestion and then work on our processing of grief, we can literally let go of our grief and let go of our poop, right? Let go of both. They're very much connected, okay? The transitional season is all about the metabolic functions in a different way, right? Liver and gallbladder was kind of pumping up after a winter like of stagnation, and then the lungs and large intestine are helping, rev like get everything out and make sure we're in a good way to set us up for a healthy winter. And winter is kidneys, which is all about feeling deeply nourished. So at this time when we can't be as active, this is when we pour back in. The kidneys, um they rule the jing and like our essence. And I like to always say that it's like we have this essence and this bowl, right? Like we'll say our pelvic bowl is like this. And what we do, especially as women, is we constantly pour out. We constantly pour out. We constantly pour out all year long. We're constantly pouring out every single year. Where do we pour in? Now menstruation is when we will eat more blood building, blood rich, enriching foods, right? Winter, we're going to have more soups and broths and stews, right? We're going to pour in food wise, but we're also going to pour in with herbs. What kind of herbs will we use at that time, right? This is all going to support that jing. And we can do this to help our cycles every month. And then we also learn how to do it in the season. And that's what we do. That's what we're going to like really tap into on the 40-day sadhana is really how to do this because I promise and this isn't we're not supposed to promise. I promise if we can tap into this truly for one cycle, the next cycle will be different. It will, even if it's just in small ways, less acne, da 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 da. It will shift because we're shifting how we're relating with our body. We're working with our cycles instead of against them or just ignoring them altogether, right? And I truly believe, and I feel like I was thinking this today, I was like, is this a crazy claim to make? I truly think that like we don't have like feminism by kind of the where feminism kind of aired was that we tried to become like men. I think women can still be the most badass, wonderful creatures in every realm of reality and tune into this and make the world run according to how it actually is supposed to run. If we can tap into this, even in corporate America, be able to tune into a different rhythm, I think we can save like nature. We can save everything because all of a sudden we'll be like, wait, every season has a purpose. Every part of our cycle and every season has a purpose. But the men aren't going to do it. We have to lead the way. And we have to first know how to do it ourselves. Because I'll be honest, I talk to so many women, and let me tell you, I talked to my gynecologist and they said I should get on birth control. I talked to my gynecologist and they said, well, I can have a hormone replacement. I talked to my gynecologist and I can have a hysterectomy. These are what the gynecologists are saying every freaking time. Every time. They do not have medicine that can do anything other than suppress the problem or try and remove the problem. There's nothing. And the thing is, our hormones are symptoms of a much bigger foundation of health that we've was completely lost to Western understanding, right? So if we can get into this, I really feel like this is part of how we can heal how sick everything is because everything is inverted, right? And again, how this goes even further is that we tap into the elemental energy of it, right? The maiden, that's wood, spring is wood. And so it's like wood is feeds the fire, right? Wood feeds the fire. Fire creates earth, right? By like volcanoes and they that the lava eventually becomes earth, right? Now earth has metal or needs air, right? There's that balance, right? The metals are in earth. And then the metal, like the things we make from these metals are the vessels for the water, whether it's a pipe or a bowl or and something. The metal vessels are the vessels for the water. And then the water nourishes the wood. This is why TCM is so beautiful to me because it doesn't separate us from nature. It writes the poetry of how we belong and are one and are mirrors to nature and the like I said the poetry of it, the absolute beautiful art that God created us in his image through and I say his with through their image by reflecting us with nature, with earth, with the magic that is animated all things, right? So, and we have this every single month. And when women are overworking, we're burning the candle at both ends through every single phase. And then we're completely burnt out. So not once in our life have we poured back into our jing. And now we're stressed beyond belief. So stressed. So stressed. We have the mental load and the physical load and the 17 shifts, beyond just the first and second. Like we have so much going on, right? And but we don't have the and so then what happens is we see all the hormones out of whack. The hormones are out of whack because everything else is depleted, because the digestion is completely destroyed, and nothing is being absorbed. We're completely depleted. We are running on empty. Our stress is beyond belief. And so we're completely distorted, because like I was thinking, one of the things I wanted to say earlier, but I forgot. When we think about our blood is used in stem cells. Our blood is used to repair wounds. Our blood is used to repair the soil. Like our blood is a sacred thing. But why inside of us, our wombs can be these magnificent healers, but why inside of us is it riddled with cysts? Is it riddled with endometriosis? Is it riddled with painful periods and infertility? And why is this beautiful life-giving thing inside of us killing us or hurting us or just leaving us? It's because we're out of whack. And we have to start reorienting ourselves so you guys have daughters, bless you, can actually help them with this, right? Because and then this is how, oh, look at menstruation, it's doing a dance. I didn't mean for it to do that. But this is how the spiral goes on. You see? How is this landing for you guys? Is this as like, oh my God, as it is for me? Or am I just like a little obsessed? Which is true.
I love how excited you are about, in a good way, in a good way. No, it's eye-opening. And I've taken every class with you. Um, but every time, even though we've already gone over this, it still like brings up something new or like, hey, I didn't think about it like that. But I
Nice.
just love how excited you are. And I'm excited for you.
I hope it's what is it when it spreads easily? That's what I'm hoping that my excitement is contagious.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Because I really feel like so many women, they're talking to me about all these things, and I was like, if we could just start by understanding how to tend to our cycles, I feel like so many things could shift.
And you know what, too? You just made a point. Like, I have two daughters. I want to be different for them when that time comes. I want to, learn as much as I can and understand it more so it's different for them. It's not just like going through the motions and like, okay, this is just a part of it.
Hmm.
Um, I want them to understand and not be afraid of it like I was. Um,
Right?
so
Like
yeah,
how to
no,
take care of ourselves through
yes.
each time, right? And then set the standard for the people around us.
Yep.
One thing my stepdaughter does that like radicalized me a little bit, because she was raised with her dad is big, like if it's mellow, no, if it's yellow, let it mellow. Oh my God. If it's yellow, let it mellow. Like, not to like flush every pee down the toilet, right? And so, but she doesn't do that. So I remember one time I accidentally left like blood in the toilet and took a shower and didn't flush beforehand. And my grandmother went in the bathroom after and she was like, Katie, you can't do that. You have to leave. It was very much like there can't be a trace that you are on this. And I was like, oh, okay, oh my gosh. But my stepdaughter, like, if it's red, just let it be in bed. I don't know. She just lets that chill too. And at first I was like, oh my God, I should tell her. And I was like, wait, why? I love that. Let's let all the boys know we're bleeding, and then that's fucking normal. And that if they just understand the situation. And I love how like that radicalized me even, and I'm like, I'm excited about this shit, right? And I was like, yeah, that's right. You see that blood in the toilet? That's me, and I love that. Um, but so this is how, even if we're looking like similar to that calendar I said, right? This is how our cycles work too, right? So it's literally shifting out of the boxes into the spiral, into the circle, into the reorienting with how time works and how we are fucking timekeepers, baby. Um, so I'd like to talk briefly about spring because I want to wrap this up in a short amount of time. The thing about spring, and this is what I'd like for you to get your notebooks. So I've been like observing nature during this transitional phase, right? And understanding what the liver holds and that the wind pathogen in Chinese medicine, but actually it's in like so like um the women in like the different programs I've taught, we've seen how it literally the understanding of wind has shown up in Latin American lineages, in Chinese lineages. I saw it in an Arabic lineage of like Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine, right? So this is a pathogenic understanding of wind. Um, that's like cross cultural. And in Chinese medicine, though, it the liver is very much affected by wind. And it's not because it's like an organ that is innervated full of nerves, like I don't know, like other parts of our digestion are, right? Like our gut and stuff. But it's because the liver stores the blood. And then the blood goes to the heart. It goes like the blood then is able to be transported to all these different places after it was stored in the liver. And so the liver itself isn't affected by the nervous system, but the valves that let the blood go and to and from is. So if we're always in stress, if we're always in like fight or flight and we're always tense and we're always like stressed and like this, our liver is not able to like move the blood, right? So that wind is very much affected with the liver and vice versa, right? So, so we had like a pretty intense windstorm the other day, and I went for a walk, and I was like, branches are everywhere, and I was like, because we're about to have all this new growth and the trees are like shaking all the dead stuff off, all that what doesn't need to be on there, shaking all the weak branches, all the precariously branch, all the dead stuff, all that needs to go. It gets shaken off with the wind, right? And then as I was over there pruning an apple tree, I was like, no, I have to take most of this off, especially apple trees. You know, they have the big, what are they called? Suckers that go up, and you know, they send up so many. But all that does is take energy away from the branches that then could flower and produce fruit. So you want to cut it off. And then every time you're cutting it off, I remember because I've taken multiple, I did a master's garden program, I've read books like, and like I said, I still get scared every year, but every time I'm like, no, I shouldn't do more. I'm like, no, more. Prune more. Cut off more of the things that are going to take away from the fruits of our labor, from the fruits of our health, from the fruits of our heart, from our spirit. So I'd love for us, because this is the new moon, to think a little bit about what we're ready to shake off, what it's time to prune and shake off of our beautiful trees of life, that it's just time to go. So let's take a few moments. I'll let the music play in the background just to kind of like have a vibe. Probably lost the screen again. Oh, no, I lost the whole thing. So no vibe. Let's just take a moment to reflect on that. Yay! Jenna said yes. You blew my mind. Fucking blew my mind. Yay! You can obviously continue this tonight, but so this call doesn't get too long. Would anybody like to share one or two things so we can hold the essence of cutting that shit off together?
Um, so for me, I want to prune playing small. Like keep myself small for other people's comfort and um, even like business wise, I think I need to take it to the next step. Not be a
Because you're badass.
Thank you.
You're so capable and you're so brilliant.
And also something that ties into that, putting myself last and the guilt over choosing me.
Yes. Yes.
Because balancing business, children, mom, and all the other hats I wear is not easy. And all the things I like usually fall at the end. So that guilt
Yeah.
is
Spring vibes for sure. Yeah.
right.
Yes. And setting that example. For me, when and I've been working on this, I'm trying to one of my intentions is to get into like to can be completely Delulu. Instead of my like negative programs. And it's gotten so much better since I did the sadhana and worked on my like uh my solar plexus. Oh, my negative like thoughts that would spiral have gotten so much better. But I was very clear that the next sadhana, while still working, because it's not like I fixed my entire core problem in 6 weeks. It's not like that, right? It set a momentum and to keep doing that. But the thing that has to go alongside of that is how I'm using my mind, how I'm thinking, how I'm spend like what I'm doing in here, because it can like I can like want to just quit, give up, not working, da 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 da. And so the next thing is like my mental stamina with things. And also deferring to other people's authority instead of just asserting my own. That was another thing, like while I was just pruning, like because this is I live on like it's my partner owns it. And he likes to garden. And he would spend a lot of money. Like we would like decide we're gonna buy all this for the garden every year, da 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 da. Da. And then he wouldn't really do much, and I would like, well, I don't know. I'm gonna wait for him. I was like, we bought all this for me to do it. He's busy, and I'm like, I should wait, and I should talk to him. I should fuck that. Just do it. I told him I was like, I'm doing the garden this year and I'm not going to ask you about night. I will ask you to do some of the projects, but I'm going to just do it. And I'm not going to be like, I hope you like it. What would he say? What was the right thing? I'm just going to do it because I know what I should do. And when I'm waiting and deferring and things like same girl, yeah. When I'm deferring, I'm missing every opportunity to rise to authority. I held this event last year with another woman and we had like decided what the plan was. And then that morning she's like, I went to this event last night. I want to change everything. And so she replanned the whole thing. And in that moment, I just gave up all of my authority in co-hosting and just followed her lead. And I felt like it didn't go as well because we just decided it that morning. And then I never asserted myself in any way. And I felt like the whole thing was not as good as it could have been because I just was like, sure, yeah, go ahead, whatever you want. Yeah, that's great. It wasn't great. And I was there and I was needed and I was deferring out of that responsibility and I'm not doing that anymore. Because that's like you said, that for me is an aspect of me playing small. I'll just let them do it. Okay. Fuck that shit. Delete. Do you have any, Jenna, you want to share or not? No, okay. If you want to add it, let it, you can. So I'm going to share real quick on how we can do this with our lives. Just adding some herbs. Again, Jess, this is probably going to be old knowledge to you. So there are certain things that are the foundations, like I've said, for women's health that through all the things I've studied, through every book written by every doctor, by Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, like all the things come down to there are certain things that women we have that, and everyone actually, that are the foundation of health. Really, I like break them down into three, but I want to talk about them like this. The kidneys, again, that's that jing, that essence. What are we pouring in? How much life force do we have? Because we're constantly pouring out. That comes from the kidneys. How are the kidneys are constantly pouring out, 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 out. And they lead to the depletion, they lead to burnout, they lead to a lot of problems. Next is the blood. Like I was saying, why is our blood and this nourishing magical essence that we create, why is it turning on us and making us sick? Is our blood stagnant? Do we not make enough blood? Are we like borderline anemic, right? Or is it stagnant where it's not moving? It's not going where it needs to go? Is it thick and gunky? Is it so light and like we barely have any blood to create and to give? We have to like the yin is ruled by the blood, right? That depth inside of us, and we have to nourish it. It's not something we even talk about in Western medicine really, but it's something we have to nourish. Next is stress. Like I said, stress, and this is they're all kind of connected and um um interweaving ways. And again, in the 40-day sadhana, we're going to dive more into this. But stress, we have to talk about it. Everyone's like cortisol, nervous system regulation. We have to deal with it. It's not like a joke. It's affecting literally every part of our bodies and our hormonal health. And next, I put these two together often, but the liver is how we're able to see. It doesn't matter if we're pouring in all this stuff, right? We're pouring in for our bloods and we're pouring in for our kidneys and we're pouring in for our hormones and we're pouring in for stress. If all we do is pour in, we're going to become like Violet, as she's just being poured in, like she's just turning into a giant bulb. What needs to happen? We also need to be able to get release, you know, excrete. This is what metabolic health is. It's being able to put in and take out. That's what we need. And the liver is how we process our hormones. It's how the liver is important for so many metabolic functions. Blood sugar, all of these things are connected, and the liver is very important for that. And the gut. Are we eating food? Is it ravaging our bellies? Are we having a bunch of nastiness just permeate through because our gut, a monster, because our gut is just completely unable to absorb nutrients and then release things correctly? So many women have digestive issues, and a lot of it is connected to stress too, my loves. We have to be able to start to really nourish these bases of our wellness. And I want to, and this is where I encourage starting with just a few plants. Every woman should have ginger tea. And in the 40-day sadhana, we'll talk about the best times to do some of these too. Like the best times of their cycles that we could do more warming ginger for the digestion and a better time to do a little bit more dandelion, right? We'll talk about exactly when to place them. But generally, you should be drinking one of these every week. Maybe make a tea blend and have ginger in something multiple times a week, right? Do nourishing infusions. The dandelion is good for the kidneys and the liver. And for the blood, right? It used to be called a blood cleanser. So right there, and it's great for the gut because it helps with if you get the dandelion root, it's good for prebiotics and the digestion, right? So oat straw and nettles I used to make as the base of like every tea. Put oat straw, nettles, and yarrow and dandelion and ginger in a tea. It might not taste the most yummy, but after a while, your body will be like, I need my tea. I promise. I promise. I'm not lying. Some of us put in the most weird tasting teas, but they're so nourishing. And then our body is like, oh my God, give us that delectable taste. And our body needs the weird flavors. We need the salty flavors of the nettle. We need that like bitter aromatic flavor of the yarrow. Like our tongue and digestion literally needs the dandelion bitter flavor to set our digestive um cascade into flow. All right. So get one of these herbs, try them in a tea, get to know them. They are deeply nourishing. Yarrow for the blood is she's called the master of the blood. Okay. Yarrow, if your cycle is too heavy and you're bleeding too much, yarrow will help minimize how much blood and how long you bleed for. you don't have enough blood and you feel like you should be having a little bit more, Yarrow will help release more blood, and because that's what it does. The herbs are not like the medicine. Some of these are nettles, dandelion. These are what are they called? Diuretics, right? And so diuretic, if you get it in the hospital, it's going to help release all the fluids, right? But then you're going to have to put a bunch of like potassium and electrolytes and stuff back in because it just makes everything go out. But when you use diuretics like dandelion, which is full of vitamins and full of minerals, you are getting the diuretic of cleansing out while giving yourself all the things that you just lost. That's what's so beautiful about the herbs. And if we could start setting the foundation and then knowing how to do it in around our cycle and how we can just tune in the micro and the micro and the macro, we can shift our hormonal landscape and see the echo every part of our lives. So that is that. So what I would love just to close is because I know, Jess, we've been doing this, but this is also the time that we plant seeds, right? So if we're pruning and we're cutting and we're shaking all the dead stuff out, okay, just make sure write the seeds you're planting, babe. And if you're really into this idea and want to have a little bit more of a focus, and I know you've been wanting accountability too, think about joining the 40-day sadhana. We're going to start next week on the 25th. Jess is in, another amazing woman, Brigitte, so far, and I haven't even like put it out there. I don't have any of my emails ready for you guys for like welcome aboard because I was like, oh my God. But if you're into that, Jenna, I think you'd really love it. We're going to work on the accountability and just help each other show up every day too. Thanks for coming. But let's try to write your intentions, the seeds you're planting. So just let's take a little bit of time and just write the seeds we're planting, and then we can close. Right. We can, tend to this list as we head into spring, but we can share a few. I know for me, one is doing what I say I'm gonna do. And I've been working on my art. I've been writing and um less scrolling, distractions, zoning out, checking out, disassociating, less of that and more into presence and creativity to just bring everything up to the level that I want it to be at. That's the next phase. I can tell like everything is shifted to where it can now go to the next level and everything I'm producing and coming up with and creating. So that's like I wrote like a bunch of things with that.
I like that. Less dissociating because I feel like I do that too much.
Because it's a lot and so it's like part of our nervous system like trying to just reset a bit. So it's normal, but that's like how can we tap into other creativity and creation ways, even art and beauty, even just the shifting to me from consuming to creating, and not even like creating for outcome, creating for feedback, but like let me disassociate by like drawing something or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or like walking the dog.
Yeah.
Like
Something you're gonna get joy out of instead of, like you said, like doom scrolling.
yeah, and presence out of like how can this make me more present in this one simple thing instead of disassociating on 17,000 things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And afterwards I always feel like shame almost. Like I just sat there for like 5 minutes. Like, where did the last 5 minutes go?
Yeah, or I thought it was 5 minutes. That was 20 minutes. What the fuck? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, which one? Which one should I say? Let myself feel more love, joy, and pleasure, and also give more too. I
Mm.
think I rob myself of feeling those a lot because of, I don't know, fear maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know why
I think when things get hard, women we harden, you know? And so our shells are harder to crack for others for us to receive any good things. And then sometimes like if it's not like us and our kids and like the immediate people that rely on us, like, it's hard for us to even crack through and like give freely and abundantly because we've hardened to that. But I think that's so beautiful and that softening. That's such a spring thing too, right? How can we soften so many of these spring liver lymph herbs are softeners? And that's something else we'll talk about in the 40-day sadhana, the liver class is that connection with so many of these herbs being softening herbs. And what does that even mean? That's really beautiful. So anybody watching this replay before March 25th, and this is like landing, and you're like, I need to get into that to learn this stuff and then be with other women and setting this intention and setting this momentum for the rest of the year. Like this is our new year, like the real new year, with that fire energy. How can we do that? Then look into the 40-day sadhana, reboot, renewal, reawakening, activation, all the things. And thank you so much for coming and watching in the replay. Happy new moon and spring. Love ya.
I